Hello, everyone, and welcome again to the Cloud Show. Today, we have a very, very burning and important topic for the cloud. We're going to talk about security with a Microsoft Security MVP. And he knows everything about security specifically, and he works as the CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer for Insurance and Pension in Denmark. And we're going to talk about the need or how to balance the need for a rapid cloud adoption, because that's what we want. We want to have cloud as much as possible, as fast as possible, while we are maintaining a robust security measure around everything, so that we can't sacrifice security for the speed of cloud, but we really also want the speed of cloud. This is going to be such a great talk together with the star of the Cloud Show tonight, and it's going to be Niclas Madsen. Well, hello there, Niclas.
Hello.
Nice to see you and nice to talk to you. Welcome to the Cloud Show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, our pleasure indeed. So here we are, just two guys who know a little bit about the cloud, talking about security, right?
Indeed.
And you just started recently, right, as the CISO of Insurance and Pension Denmark.
Yes, that's correct. Coming from a security consulting background, so I've been in security for quite some years, and now I'm on the other side of the table.
Right. Well, congratulations to jumping over to being the buyer of consultancy services.
Thank you.
So Insurance and Pension Denmark, briefly, what's the size of this? Huge.
In terms of people, it's not so huge, but in terms of the society impact in Denmark, it's quite huge. We have some very big solutions that are like every time you want to have a car, for example, repaired at a workshop somewhere, it goes through our system, and all the insurance companies are integrated into that. So you could say that if our systems were not running this, then everything would be your pen and papers. So it's we have digitalized a lot of the insurance solutions here in Denmark. That's just, of course, one of the things we do.
And pension.
And pension as well. This is insurance and pension. Usually those two goes together, right?
So we also host
we host a very big pension solution here in Denmark, so people can actually check how much pension they have if it's like a consolidating platform.
So is this classed as sorry, but is this then classed as sort of a national security or national interest level? Like things that
I would rather not talk too much about these things, but it is we do have some sensitive data.
Yeah, because I've been working at one point. I worked with Energinet in Denmark, right? Who take care of the energy grid in Denmark, and that's of course national critical infrastructure, obviously, because if that would fail, it would be very dark and very cold in the households of Denmark, right?
Yes, I wouldn't. I mean, obviously, it's not the same because the society goes on. Even though you cannot check your pension, then you might be able to log into your bank or your pension provider directly and check it there, right? And as I also said, you can get your vehicle fixed. It will just take significantly longer and be more troublesome. So this is not it's not a power grid going down, but it's definitely gonna be much more difficult to do daily business with insurance and pension companies. I lost you, Magnus. You muted yourself.
You're dealing with people. You're dealing with information about people, about citizens of Denmark, right? And that's terrible,
Yes.
right? If something bad was to happen with that would be, would be a disaster.
Yeah, it will. Like with any other financial service company, you definitely do not want to have your data leaked.
All right. Well, so let's dig into it. So we need to, like you said, when we talked about this episode, you said, okay, well, the thing is, everybody wants all the Azure, all so fast, but they have to keep a tab on sort of the security of things. So tell us about this space of security in the light of cloud agility, if you will.
Yeah, it's very tricky, right? Because it is really about finding the right balance for this rapid cloud adoption, as we said here. And as a former consultant, I have seen it, I have helped navigate in it. And more companies they move to the cloud to speed up the go-to-market, the whole innovation around their business, and really with the goal to drive up revenue as fast as possible. And it cannot go fast enough, right? We can see it with the Gen AI solutions. People they don't really care about the privacy in it. It's just we just need to have it ASAP. We actually need to have AI yesterday, right? And they don't think about the security concerns with it. With that said, I would like to emphasize something that I often have seen as a consultant, that it's very important to understand the shared responsibility model for the cloud service providers, right? And this might sound very trivial, very basic, but I have seen a lot of people who tend to forget the responsibility that the CSP have and the responsibility you have as a client or customer. I mean, and that leads to gaps, and those gaps are usually where it's non-recoverable if you get attacked, right? So I think that is a very important point here, and just for the people who does not know what the responsibility model is, or the shared responsibility model, you have SaaS,
Mhm.
PaaS, infrastructure as a service. Of
Yep.
course, you have on-prem. On-prem, you control everything yourself, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in SaaS, it's a cloud service provider. PaaS, it's sort of a shift where it is a little bit mixed, and infrastructure as a service, it's more or less just the data, right? But in all of the scenarios, data is something that you as a customer is responsible for. It will never ever be the cloud security or the cloud service provider's responsibility. That's very important to bear in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is something that is um, people don't, or users of cloud, they don't necessarily understand how much they need to take that responsibility, and
Mm.
assume that part of the equation. But like you're saying here with AI, how it can lead to a scenario where you just have to have it so fast because everyone else has it, or our competitors
Yeah.
already has something AI and we have to have AI now as well.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter, just get it done really quickly. And
Mm.
you're saying that this can then lead to a scenario where you just don't assume the right appropriate level of responsibility in relation to
Yeah,
it.
exactly. I mean, people tend to be more risk, adverse in this space. I mean, if you
Yeah.
look back at cloud, just look a few years back, right? Moving to the cloud was completely no go, right? It was like, what are you doing cloud? It's super dangerous. We cannot have that.
Yeah.
We have overcome that challenge now. Obviously, we do have some legal issues still within the USA with FISA and so forth, but it is what it is. But now with AI, nobody's questioning this anymore, right? People are just jumping on the bandwagon, and it's sort of at we are missing this step where we are actually looking at what's inside this black box that AI, for example, is consuming. Usually, nobody knows what's inside this little black box that we are feeding our data into, but we love the outcome of it, right? So we have this, we
Oh.
put something in, something happens, it's magic, and we get an output that we like. Okay, great. And this is, yeah, I think that's a big concern, at least for me in our company, right? Because we do have a lot of sensitive data. So people just going nuts on the ChatGPT or Copilot and whatnot is not something that we like too much, and we are definitely looking into the different countermeasures on this,
Okay.
because
So
we
tell
do
me
want
then.
to. Just
Yeah.
to finalize this, sorry, because we do like Gen AI and it comes with a lot of positive things. It just
Yeah.
needs to be run and execute it in a controlled manner, right? And that could be, for example, using Purview, having your data loss prevention in place, stuff like that. So definitely want to say
Yep.
chat or Gen AI, it's here to come or to be, and we love it. It just needs to be implemented in a controlled way.
Right. And that is sort of the essence, the core of it, right? That how do you, or what steps and measures is it that you have to focus on to really look in the right place for security and get it done fast and appropriately in this context. So what is it that you do? You're talking about purview and things.
Yeah, so I actually want to take maybe a step back, because not just for AI, but for the cloud in general, I would say your access control or your identity and access management, that is the key, right? We often, if you look also a little bit back before the cloud, network and the network perimeters was sort of like, that's our first line of defense. Now everything is complete open, right? We run on public endpoints, at least some of us, or you can have your private link and your private endpoints. But now it has shifted into identities being sort of the first perimeter of defense. Now we all rely on RBAC models, role-based access control.
Right.
So this is super important. You need to have that in place. And the same goes with if you implement a Copilot or something like that. If people have more permissions than what they should have, then suddenly they can start to do some prompt engineering that you do not want them to do, right? And they can suddenly see documents that they should not see. So yeah, this is super important.
So you have to have your access model correctly applied on the the
Yes,
people who have access to the right data. You have access to this, and this group has
yes,
access to that, and various
exactly.
things.
And you know about that, right? The least privilege model or need to know basis, call it what you want. The fact is that we often see that it has been over implemented because it's just convenient, right? If
Yeah,
people can just in Azure, for example, just be owner, or if you have I don't know, like a network guy who's domain admin, well, they can do everything. So it's
they can
convenient for
do
them. They
everything.
don't
Yeah,
have any blockers, right?
yeah, yeah,
They can
absolutely.
implement whatever they want.
And then there's the malicious employee or the disgruntled employee, but there's also human error and mistakes. You can just
Definitely.
accidentally do the wrong thing there, and if you don't have then
Yeah.
the right policies in place, for example, in your Azure, you might inadvertently open a port to the wrong place or something, and you have a hole.
Yeah. I have
Yeah,
seen I've also seen things where people, they elevate just into contributor, but they do it on a too high level. It could be on like a management group level, and then they run some PowerShell script that was supposed to clean up stuff, but they didn't really realize which subscription that they were working on, and then
yeah,
oops, suddenly they deleted things that they should not delete, right? So
yeah. So
again,
how do
it's really
you how do you
about
ensure how do you ensure the right access at the right level at the right time?
That is super difficult, right? But if we stick to Azure for now, then you can obviously use PIM, Privileged Identity Management. That is something that we do recommend. In general, everything where you have permissions to change things, I would say put it in PIM. So you don't have what we call standing access. Standing access is really that you just log into your Azure portal and you can do stuff. You can have
Right.
standing access on reader roles, but I would say every roles where you can change something in the portal, then that should be through PIM.
Right. So then when a person needs to make changes in one place, they should
Mm.
activate the access in that place only and not for everything.
Exactly. They should do it granular, right? They might have access on a root group level or intermediate root group, but
Yep.
they should, if they just need to change something on subscription X, then they should activate the role on subscription X, not on the
Just
management group.
that's really great advice, and I couldn't agree more. I've been looking at PIM solutions myself, and I find it highly valuable to remove human error, the risk of actually running the wrong thing on the wrong place. It's like, oops, I thought I chose
Yeah.
that database and I chose this database, and woo, hopefully you
Yeah.
have a backup.
Exactly. Yeah, back to the disaster recovery plan. No, but I also think another thing that is super important right now, we talked a little bit about the Pfizer and the USA laying somewhere and maybe learning, but encrypting your data, right? That is something that, both in transit but also at rest is
Hmm.
something that is super important as well. And obviously, when you are in the cloud, you can have everything is sort of encrypted by, or it's not sort of, it is encrypted by default by, for
Hmm.
example, Microsoft. But it is also managed. The encryption keys are managed by Microsoft or the other cloud service provider,
Uh-huh.
Amazon, Google, whatnot. And this is where, again, if you want the ultimate control of your data, you need to also be in control of the encryption key. And this is where Microsoft used the term customer managed keys. So I definitely recommend, if you do have sensitive data like we do, then use customer managed keys, because it is best practice. It's not just a Microsoft best practice. It is, Cloud Security Alliance best practice. So yeah, it's coming from industry experts. It's not just me saying it's
It's
a
not
good
just
idea.
you. Well, you are an industry expert on this
Yeah.
topic as such, but you're right. So so I understand you correct is that you ensure to not only use the service built-in encryption and in transit encryption at rest, but also take control of your own keys and have
Ex-
them managed by yourself instead.
Exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. And this is not for all companies. I'm also going to say that right now, because it is a lot of administrative overhead. It is a lot of cost involved in that. You might want to look into the solution Azure Key Vault Managed HSM. It's a bit more hardened. Not a bit, it's a lot more hardened, right? Than a normal Azure Key Vault or an Azure Key Vault Premium.
Yeah.
But this will require a lot more administrative work to deal with it. But it is also a lot more secure. So it is,
Yeah.
for example, tamper proof and whatnot. So that's a whole other discussion.
Right, but it's an important discussion. So
It
when
is.
you really have the highest security level requirements, that overhead is not optional. But then you need to do it as well and as fast and as good as possible to make your business still, move, even though
Yes,
you are always very secure.
definitely. So I would say that at least start with Azure Key Vault Premium, because you do get HSM back keys there. So that's at least a good start. It's only FIPS 140-2 level 2 compliant, whereas HSM will give you level 3, which is the sort of the highest compliance. I think you also
Right.
have a level 4, but that is not applicable here. Um,
Excellent.
so yeah, definitely aim for that if you can. If you do have the resources, talk to your manager.
Mhm.
If you do have sensitive data in the cloud, yeah, this is the best practice from an industry point of view.
Mhm. And how do you work to make? I mean, you're the CISO, but how do you work to make people who are not security experts understand what the heck you are about and why you require
Yeah.
resources to do things? How does
This
that
is
happen?
this is obviously an issue for all companies, I think. But you have the old saying, people, processes, technology. I don't know if you have heard it, maybe you have, but it's always about the people first. Train your people, make people aware of what you're doing. Do not flip it around. Do not start with the tech. The tech is last, right? The people is first, always. So
I love
people,
that.
educate people, come in, do your processes around it, then figure out your tech afterwards,
I
right?
love that. I
Because it
love that.
doesn't matter if you're using Splunk, Sentinel, Elasticstack, it's the same, right? That's not where we want to start. We want to start with our people. So that's super important. And how do you educate them? That can be in many different ways, right? But you need to ensure that you you give people the training that they need, and that can be that you look at the first. You of course look at the skill sets of the individual. So if somebody is super good at networking, don't make that guy do identities, right? Make him do networking. Make him access the network training that Microsoft have, that other people, all the cloud service providers they have. So utilize people's individual strength. I think that is super important.
Right.
And also, if they have an interest in learning, of course, I mean, yeah, encourage a learning environment. I think that is at least what I do. Never just you know put people in a box and then say stay there. I mean, if people they want to grow and and you have, let's say, the network guy, but he wants to learn about identity, encourage that journey, because we need more hands. Everybody
Wonderful.
needs more hands, and the more people who can help with different things, the better.
That is just so spot on, and I love that. It's wonderful to hear a C-level person at something important as a insurance and pension company in Denmark, really focusing in on the skills and the learning and that part, because otherwise we're not gonna get to the goal with just thinking we can do tech. It's not gonna happen.
Exactly. It is definitely very, very important. I would also say another thing that is something that people they talk about and they might not do that regularly, but it is, security assessments and audits. It's super boring, right? At least it sounds like that, but it is very helpful in identifying potential vulnerabilities, and it also often gives you measures on how you can address them, also in a proactive manner. And you do have automated tools for some of these things, right? That can even, both for when you are developing code. So you have the SAST, the static application security testing, but even on runtime environments, you can do the dynamic application security testing, sort of doing the black box testing. And that would be like, if you looked at our system now, then you would be looking at, a black box. And this is also how we test, right? From outside in, but we also do the inside out approach. So I think that you can combine those two, it's very important.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Well, so definitely look into those benchmarks and tests and checkups of your security as well. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Niclas, for being on the Cloud Show tonight. It's been a true pleasure to talk with an expert about security in the cloud. Appreciate having you with us.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. And feel free to connect on LinkedIn if any of you guys have any questions. So I'm here to help.
Wonderful. Thank you, Niclas. And thank you, guests, for watching this episode of The Cloud Show.